thinking of starting a riding club.
To say that I've been looking forward to The Bikeriders would be a major understatement. The director, Jeff Nichols, is a particular favorite of mine, with this being his first movie since his 2016 doubleheader of Midnight Special and Loving. The wait for this one has seemed extra long, with it originally slated for a 2023 release through Searchlight, only for them to eventually sell the film to Focus Features, who've decided to position it as a unique piece of summer counter-programming. This might have been a smart choice given the starry cast, which is arguably even more prominent now than it was 6 months ago, led by a strong trio of performances by Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, and Tom Hardy. Many will compare this to Goodfellas, with the movie definitely giving up strong vibes in that direction as it starts, but eventually it settles into a more elegiac tale. While some automatically associate biker gangs with crime, the film does go through pains to show that this was not always the case, with the pivot towards organized crime being something that simply crept up on the gang's founders. Tom Hardy's Johnny is the gang's mastermind. He holds down a job that supports a family, and this is just a way for him to bring together like-minded bike enthusiasts. In the 60s, this was a culture that was looked down upon by the mainstream as thuggish, but Johnny, who openly models himself on Marlon Brando in The Wild One, is no thug. The film is based on a volume of photography, also called The Bikeriders by Danny Lyon, who's played here in the film by Mike Feist of West Side Story. While his work with the clubs is dramatized, the gang depicted here, the Vandals MC, is fictional. They serve as a vehicle for us to see how bike subculture was somewhat co-opted by more violent gangs in the post-Vietnam era, with Johnny's response to any challenge, fists or knives, being old-fashioned in a world where any such challenge would soon be met with gunfire. Yet Hardy's Johnny isn't really the lead here. The movie is kinda told through the eyes of Jodie Comer's Kathy, an ordinary gal out of Chicago who, after an ill-advised foray into the mayhem-soaked Vandals clubhouse, finds herself infatuated by Austin Butler's too-cool-for-school Benny. While she's definitely the protagonist in that she has the most screen time, Kathy is less of a full-fledged character than she is our entree into this milieu, which is actually kind of an effective way for Nichols to tell this tale. The heart of the story is the relationship between Benny and Johnny, with Kathy playing tug-of-war with Johnny over her husband. Both seem totally infatuated with him, but part of his appeal is how aloof he is, with him unwilling and unable to really commit to either. Kathy wants him as a husband, which he's only semi-interested in, even though he loves her, while Johnny wants him to be his right-hand man, which again, Benny doesn't want or need to be. If you've ever wanted to know what a movie starring Marlon Brando and James Dean might have been like, The Bikeriders kind of gives you an idea, as those are the icons that both men really seem to be channeling, and they do a great job. Butler certainly seems like a major star waiting to happen, with him impossible to take your eyes off of, as he just totally commands the screen anytime he pops up. By comparisons, Comer's role is a touch boring, but I think this is actually by design from Nichols. But she vanishes into it, adopting kind of an Illinois-style drawl that might turn off some viewers. She kind of talks like this throughout the movie, which takes a little bit of getting used to, but is definitely an interesting approach and does feel authentic to the milieu. Jeff Nichols also has made a pretty lean movie, with it running just under 2 hours. This is the rare film that I almost hope there's a longer version out there, as I found some of the side characters really interesting and worth further development. Standouts to me include Michael Shannon, as a particularly wild member who remembers being turned away from the draft board as undesirable, while Norman Reedus shows up sporting a terrifying set of teeth as a ferocious-looking but surprisingly affable biker who joins the crew. In effect, the film is an impressionistic take on a very, very short-lived chapter in Americana, with the counterculture bike gangs of the 50s and 60s ultimately co-opted into organized crime. Gangdom itself is now seen as sinister, even if initially that wasn't the intention. It was a way for marginalized people to band together. The Bikeriders serves as an elegy for that lost time, and is thoroughly engaging from start to finish. No one really makes movies like Jeff Nichols does, and the fact that I left The Bikeriders wanting even more of it just goes to show you how good it is. It's rare that I look at my watch during a movie, really hoping that there's more of it left, but that's precisely what happened to me here a bit. To me, that's a pretty strong recommendation, and I give this a 9 out of 10. I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing it again and just settling back into the story.
Just think it over, you know.